Okay, Sid, we're live. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. Why don't you go ahead and take the stage and go ahead and introduce yourself and your background for the audience.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Connor. I am Siddhant Goswami, and I am a founder of 100xEngineers. So we are running an education company, and we are based out of India, Bangalore specifically. We upskill and also help Gen AI entrepreneurs to build products as well as engineers to learn and upskill themselves into the space.
What is your background and kind of what is the credibility, or how did you learn those skills that allowed you to launch this new company?
Sure. So I started my journey in startups like 5 years back. The first company I was basically a founding engineer there, and this was a freelance marketplace for India where we built this entire platform where freelancers can get the gigs. Mostly like overseas clients basically use India for outsourcing the talent because you can get talent here for a cheaper rate as compared to US and the UK. So that was the initial idea. We built the marketplace, ran that company for 3.5 years, uh, got it acquired by Unacademy, which is an education giant in India. So that is around $13 million acquisition. After that, I started working for the company who acquired us and built a couple of products for them, and then ended up leaving the company. So, joined a new venture with my ex co-founder called Varun Maya. So he was a business influencer, also running an education business in India. So we were experimenting to build a voice-based community app. This time, Clubhouse was booming in US. So this was the same time where in India also we saw a lot of boom for the voice communities, and we thought let's do this as an experiment. And the experiment turned out quite well for us as we got more than 100,000 downloads within the launch of the product within the first month, and that helped us to get the business going, and we raised our pre-series A round. So we basically officially started the company, and yeah, that was a VC-backed startup. We ran that business for 2.5 years. Last year, it got acquired by an academy, which was the same company to I sold the last business. So this was my second acquisition with them. Yeah, so we had the acquisition. Now, while the acquisition was happening, I was also involved. So we were building this B2B community app. So where we were helping a lot of other businesses to run their online communities. It's similar to what Sam Owens is doing right now. School. I'm not sure if you know about that. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's basically something similar. We started doing this like I think a few years back in India. So we were helping a lot of businesses, even creators, to manage their online communities. And when generative AI came into the picture, we started like running some experiments internally in the team. One of our experiment got good traction. This was initial idea of how you can make GPT, like large language model, more accessible to a regular audience, specifically Asian audience, where like WhatsApp is a predominant app in the consumer category, and people still don't use web apps. Or, for example, we saw a huge uptick in the image generation right after the Midjourney got launched. So Midjourney is basically an image generation tool. If you guys need a explanation, I think you can check out that. But yeah, so what people were doing back then is like they were using bunch of interfaces which were completely new to like people, especially from India, and so we wanted to like have all these technologies right into the app which everybody uses. That was WhatsApp. So we connected. This was basically a wrapper around of WhatsApp and LLM APIs, diffusion APIs. We built that. That got huge traction because suddenly now everybody can access these large language models, OpenAI, GPTs, Midjourney, DALI, all sort of things, without even installing or going through any other platform. It went viral in South America, also Brazil. We had like a larger base in the last 6 months from Brazil, Spain, those countries. So yeah, that basically got us good distribution for like getting our hands dirty in the space, and then we started exploring more into generative AI space. And we one of my co-founder, he does like a media company in India, and he also owns a YouTube channel. So he wanted to solve his problem of automating thumbnails, which is very, you can say, important part of any YouTube, right? Thumbnail. The better the thumbnail is, the more click through rate you will get, and the more people will click on the video. He wanted to basically automate this process. What he wanted to basically build is an engine which can learn what works on YouTube based on looking at your thumbnails in the past and see what thumbnail has performed better as compared to other videos. So we basically built this entire content library because we've been like posting. We had an ecosystem where a lot of influencers uh, keep posting a lot of stuff through our channel. So we basically use that as a content library for us, and we use all the high performing, the best performing thumbnails from our YouTube list, and then we use this to train a large language model. Actually, the diffusion model, not the language model. This diffusion model understands how a particular thumbnail works on a YouTube based on the title. So the engine is something like, you give it a title, you give it a description, short description, what is the video going to be about, and then it can generate the thumbnail based on that. And if you want to put your image into the thumbnail, you can pass it or upload your image as well. So that is sort of the initial idea where we stuck into, and we ended up building this product, which got launched and got great traction in India, specifically like in Southeast Asia as well. A lot of theaters, clients reached out to us saying like, if you can do the same thing with your YouTube thumbnails, can you do this for our marketing campaigns? Because they also measure the same click-through rate. Uh, and we started taking more deals, more enterprise deals, and that was the, you can say, start of our Gen AI consultancy. We ended up like building the whole new consultancy firm in India, which is by far one of the largest Gen AI consultancy. Now I wanted to also move to education side because I've been like involved in the upskilling and training of engineers within the company. Because initially when we were hiring for these engineers and we were scaling these products. By the way, this was not the only product. We built a couple of more products after that. We even fine-tuned our own large language model. So there's like multiple experiments were going on through that phase, and we needed more engineers and more people to help us. And I was basically inside the company helping people to upskill. That is where like I wanted to test this idea of running the education cohort separately. We did a survey with our audience, like if we do something like this, uh, if I will basically come up with a curriculum like this, which will go through, which will basically teach you how you can understand the basics of generative AI using these large language model, diffusion model, and build a business application. So would you be interested? And we got a very positive response through that. And August last year, I launched my first cohort. So this was a separate business altogether. This is called 100xEngineers. We were doing YouTube before launching the cohort, but that was more or less the content part of the thing. August, we officially started the business, and I ran the first cohort for 4 months. We got 220 students, and there we specifically focused on engineers, where we're upskilling them how to use these tools to upskill yourself and build these generative AI apps. Then in December, what we are doing right now is basically our flagship offering, you can say, as a education cohort, where we are not restricting to only engineers. This is even for marketeers, even for somebody who is creating content, or somebody who is running a business. So maybe in health tech or maybe in fintech, anywhere. So as long as you are curious and passionate about building anything in generative AI, we basically welcome people, and we enable you in the entire life cycle. You can go from the idea stage to MVP, even launching the product. We will basically help you and guide you in the entire process. So that's basically how we started things.
Yeah, that background's really helpful. So I think you kind of set the stage is that you have a lot of experience building these types of generative AI or software based applications, and you've had a lot of success, which I would say probably helps your credibility, right? Like you say, I've done this, I know how to do this, I can teach you how to do it. Is that kind of how you approach it?
Yeah, exactly. So along with that, we also like one of the USP you can say is the community, because we have been like community builders from like when community was not in a trend, specifically like in Asia, right? So in 2019, my ex-co-founder started the first in India's first cohort-based courses, where we ran one of the largest youth community in India. So we were running these communities, and it's been like more than 5 years now. So that basically helped us to build the audience, and specifically the people who are interested in this domain. And we basically becomes like an umbrella for them, where like everybody who are more like hackers, tinkerers, these guys, these are your early adopters. They basically like want to experiment, hack around with stuff. So these are our primary audience. And when they come together, they build stuff, and they help each other. So there are multiple companies within these communities have arisen so far. So we have like now portfolio of like uh, founders and people who have started their own businesses after joining these communities or found their potential co-founders. So that is now adding up to the whole this level. Except for just my credibility, where I can say, okay, I have done this and I can teach you that. Now I can also give you this entire community and the platform and the alumni network of people who have done that, who have built all these products, and who can basically help you and share their experiences.
No, I mean, I think that's great. And can we maybe back way up? How did you learn engineering, software engineering into code? I mean, do you go way back to when you were younger, and how did you develop that interest or get introduced to developing that skill?
Okay, so to me, coding started like way early. I was in like seventh standard when I first had my interaction with code. And the reason why I wanted to basically start working on code is I was passionate about playing games first. I used to play Flash games on my computer, because that time those were the kind of games which my computer could support. And I wanted to build those kind of games. So I figured out that there is a software called Macromedia Flash, in which I can build these mini games. I started learning that software, but I realized there's very less content out there, and I have to go through the entire documentation, which back then for me was like totally jargon, and I was not able to understand anything. So I took like a you can say easier approach. I went through this tool and I started hand drawing all these frames. So it's very similar to stop motion film, right, where you draw each and every frame from your hand, and then you basically stitch all the keyframes together, and then you play so that it looks like it's an animation, but it's actually a bunch of images combined together. So that's where I started it, and I wanted to basically control more of these animations so that I can build a game where if somebody presses an enter, the character will start a new animation. If somebody presses spacebar, they will start another animation, which will basically give an illusion that this character is moving, and then if you click on the spacebar, it will jump because now it's performing this different animation. So to control that, that was the basically my problem statement which I was trying to figure out. And I happened to know that there's a language inbuilt within the software called action script, which was a you can say one of the form of a JavaScript. And I basically learned that language just to control this animation. So it was a very simple you can say start, but that got me curious about this entire world, and I like stepped into it in my you can say after high school. I got in India is basically like you choose different subjects electives. So we I basically took computer science there, and after that I happened to have deep interest in computer science, so I ended up like doing my engineering with CS. So that's basically how I got it.
I think that's helpful, and then I'm also curious too because you've explained your background and all the different companies that you've built, and even some to acquisition. So I think it seems like you have that maybe some technical founders or people with technical background don't have is that ability to market and sell and operationalize the products that you're building. So can you maybe speak to how you develop those skills, considering you had a technical background and just understanding that that would be needed as well to be truly successful?
Sure. To be honest, I'm still not good at my non-technical functions, so I'm still
Okay.
learning it. But I think it's factor of different things. One is definitely me finding a team. So the first company which we started together, I had like very strong operations people and marketing and sales folks with me. So I fortunately didn't need to like delve into those areas because I already had a team. Although I learned from them a lot. In the second business, where I was starting a lot of things from scratch, there I need to learn a lot of things by my own. But still, like I had a good team. So we, one of my co-founder, he was also like a serial entrepreneur. So he has started like multiple companies before that. So he helped me grooming into all these different roles, where like learning about marketing, how sales work, and how do you basically do outbound and everything. And I think the real learning happened when we were raising funds, because the moment you start talking to VCs, you have to like you have to be very sure about what you are building. You have to have the clarity about things, and it's kind of an enterprise sales, which I feel maybe could be like a personal opinion, but yeah, it felt to me like a lot of principles from an enterprise sales I can apply it there. And yeah, that was my practical playground where I started learning and like applying those skills. So that definitely helped. But overall, just to answer your question, I think it's because I was surrounded by these people who were expert in their areas, and I was like constantly learning from them. And then like fundraising happened, and then like few other things, like we had to like launch the product, build the MVP. So that's I think one thing.
And I think I love your call out of finding the right team, right? Is finding or finding complementary skill sets, which I think is really important. That's what
Exactly.
you were
And
able to
yeah, I
do.
think this is the one advice even which I give to a lot of founders in the current cohort, right? Because you cannot do all the things by yourself on the day zero, right? Specifically when you're building a company, there's like 100 things you need to manage. So it's always better to have like a strong team which can complement you, and which can basically like help you be successful in that particular domain. So yeah, that's something you picked up right.
Definitely. And can we unpack the offering through 100x engineers a bit more? If I heard you correctly previously, you said that there's a more technical cohort focus, but and then you guys are going to launch something that's more non-technical, or even maybe someone like myself that doesn't have a technical background can
Yeah.
get in there and build a generative AI based product. Is that accurate?
Sure, exactly. So we started from very technical audience, and then we expanded into more domains. So right now we realize, because this entire domain is not restricted to only engineers, like specifically people who are coming from marketing, say sales, even a lot of product managers we have in the cohort, and they want to understand the possibilities, what is possible with these technology, and they want to learn about those things. And we were kind of restricting it earlier to only engineers, and we were basically like letting go of all the people, right, who wanted to learn about this space and just curious about building this. That's where we basically took a call. And on like in January first, before even announcing this cohort, we did an we ran the consultancy company, the generative AI consultancy company in India. So we know within the company, I have personally trained people who come from non-coding background, or basically very little coding experience, but they were able to pick up things very fast if they follow a certain path, right? Because I have personally tried multiple cohorts. So one of the pain point when I was like running the consultancy for generative AI was to hire good folks, good engineers who understand about this space. And not always about engineers. It could be about, say, UI UX designers, or maybe like project managers who understand, so that who can talk to clients about what we can offer. But there's very less supply for this, and I try to search for particular cohort which covers end to end of generative AI, how somebody can apply these large language models and build and business application. But I was not able to find anything, and that is also one of the moment where I realized ki this technology is gonna go up. I know definitely, but why there is nobody helping or upskilling people in this space? That was one of the moment where I realized, okay, somebody needs to like do something in the education sector for this. So yeah, that was one of the thing. We took a call, and I decided to basically teach myself. Now, coming to the question which you asked, like, right now we are allowing everybody, even if you do not come from the coding background, we have designed the curriculum in such a way that for the first half of the cohort, so we do this for it's a 5 month cohort. So for first 2 months, you don't need to write one single line of code, and you will be able to fine tune models. You will be able to like build all kind of, you can say, AI generated image generation for particular marketing campaigns. By the way, like this is just one thing which we started. It's a movement or a challenge, 100-day challenge called 0 to 100x Engineers on Twitter. So you can search hashtag 0 to 100x Engineer. So people are coming from non-tech background, like different backgrounds. They're basically posting what they have learned in last 2 months. So we started this cohort January, and this is March. So it's only 2 months. And these guys were able to build their own headshot generator, something similar to Photo AI, which Peter Levels made back in, I think, 6 months back. So that, by the way, that app was making almost $1 million right now. So within these 2 months, now these guys are equipped enough so that they can build the tech which like Peter Levels or these indie hackers use to generate millions of dollars for them, right? So that's a great win, which I feel anybody can have. And what happens after these 2 months is that you have a option, like whether you want to go deep into like customizing and training these models. Because if you do want to go deep into that area, then you need code, and then we introduce coding as an boot camp. So first we do a boot camp of Python, then we basically pick up very essential part of the coding which you need to fine tune a model, to basically add that into your existing workflow, and then it carry along. So we have like expert level content which is like more advanced material for folks who want to go too deep, and we also have material for folks who are just starting their career in it, or they're just like very new to this entire. So that's basically, we have designed the cohort in such a way that everybody can get maximum benefit out.
And is it your belief that anybody can master this skill, right? Or maybe you take somebody like me and I've never coded really a day in my life. If I were to put the time into it, do you think I could develop this generative AI high level software engineering skill?
Sure, definitely. So that's basically one of our goal. So there are a lot of as I mentioned again, like marketing folks in the cohort whose goal was just to like increase the revenue of their existing marketing firm. So we have, by the way, just sharing one stat with you. 70% people right now in the cohort are already founders or basically running some kind of businesses. So we have people who run different marketing agencies in Asia, and their primarily goal to join this cohort is to maximize their revenue by them upskilling first themselves and then their team. So these were the guys who were able to like pick up things very fast and were able to create AI generated ads for different products. So one guy recently built a fully AI generated ad for Armani and Coke also, like the couple of people who built for Coke, Coca-Cola, and other products as well. So this ad will basically does not require any human to be involved in this. You can use your own images, you can fine tune a model with your own images, and all this can be possible without you even writing single line of code. So that's the beauty of the entire tech stack which we have chosen. That in order for you to build something like this, which is still very valuable to a marketing firm, because you can like generate any kind of ad campaigns for any kind of product, right? With keeping the brand consistency, and all the character consistency in place, and without even like introducing any complexity of you learning Python or any other programming language. So this is something which we have done. And yes, of course, if you asked, so that if you spend on an average, students spend 2 to 3 hours per day on this cohort, and these are the folks who have actually got good results. So this is the time commitment which we expect, because obviously when you're learning something new, you need to spend little extra time and effort. So on an average, if you can spend like 2 to 3 hours per day, um, yeah, within like 2 to 3 months, we have seen like people coming up with great outputs and great results.
Yeah, I think that makes a little sense, and I don't know if you can articulate it right, because I understand at a high level, if you provide the right prompts to a chat GPT, for example, it will write certain simple levels of code for you. So I don't know if there's a way that you've figured out how to articulate for excuse me, for someone that maybe doesn't understand the power of generative AI, like how powerful this technology is. Is there a way you can articulate that?
Sure. This is not only about prompt. So what you're talking about is prompt engineering, and prompt engineering is basically a process of you writing a prompt to LLM, which can then generate an output for you. Now, what I was referring to is like complete different process. It's you building a workflow for identifying what's the problem you are solving first. For example, in our cohort, students said, "Okay, I want to build an ad campaign for say Coca-Cola." So it needs to have a consistent can of Coke, which also needs to have consistent branding. All these things right now are not very easy to get directly from the model. Like even if you generate any image from Midjourney or DALI, like they won't be able to consistently generate with the brand guidelines. They will miss some text here and there. They will miss some trademark, which a brand cannot afford. And then you again need to edit those images and like do more work on them, which will again look like that you have edited that part out. So it's not very seamless. What I was referring to is different from prompt engineering. It's building this entire workflow. Now you know that character consistency is one thing which you need, like the brand consistency. Coca-Cola wants all the pictures should have exact same trademark, exact same logo of their product, right? This is something you need fine tuning. And fine tuning, when I say fine tuning, it means like you show enough images of the product to this model, then this model starts learning, okay, how this product is basically going to look like whenever I use it in next particular image. And to do that, we use no code tools. So we have like all the open source tools. We have listed down all the tools, by the way, which we use in the cohort on the website. These are automatic 1111 Comfy UI. These are completely free of cost tools. So anybody can use it. It's just you need more powerful GPUs and more powerful computers to access those things, which we also provide in the cohort. So uh, we have partnered with AWS as a cloud partner. So every person who joins the cohort gets at least $1,000 worth of credits on AWS to access these uh, heavy compute GPUs, so that they can build all those tools, workflows. They can fine tune a model, and yeah, that's something which is different from prompt engineering, which you were mentioning.
Yeah, and I guess it kind of goes back to the point that I would imagine you run into a lot of people like myself or others that just don't know what they don't know. And so maybe my
Right.
next question is there are there even software engineers that haven't even delved into what you just described or playing around with no code tools and generative AI software engineering that you run into a lot? Like I don't know, maybe they work for a big company and they are just still coding in just Java. I don't know exactly what the specifics would be, but are there is there a large percentage of those that have an engineering background out there that are unaware of the concepts you're teaching in your program and cohort?
Right. So this was a study we did before even starting the cohort, because most of our audience were actually engineers. And even like engineers right now, because they tend to get busy with their again day-to-day work and whatever technologies they're working on, it's very hard for anybody like to keep up with what's coming up with the technology. Every day there's a new model, there's a new tool coming up, there's a new technology is coming launching. So for somebody like even I was talking to people at Meta and Google. So my some of my friends even they mentioned that they were not able to keep up with all the new tech which is coming along, and they need basically some advice and some help from somebody who is like doing a research day in day out. And that's where we come also into the picture for someone like who is already an engineer working at big tech or basically any company, and they just want to like get themselves up to date with all the technologies and what is the possible outcomes or what the possibilities of those technologies. These guys are also like a huge audience of our cohort. So like, the remaining part, 30% of the cohort is basically like these engineers, data scientists. Um, yeah.
And how do you ensure what are the processes you have in place to make sure that you're up to date? And then if you have a cohort that joins and works with you for 5 months, how do you ensure that after that 5 months, everything they learned is still relevant and they can apply to building companies or finding a high quality engineering job?
See, that's a first of all a challenging problem, and that's why I realized there were not a lot of companies doing this because it requires somebody to like sit and do research day in day out, and then like you have to be very agile with the curriculum there because when we started this 6 months back, I was teaching Stable Diffusion 1, and now there is ST3, which is a third version, and a lot of things have changed in the third version of the Stable Diffusion, which is completely the things which I have learned 6 months back is basically now irrelevant, specific to one particular tool which I'm teaching. Now that also again raises the same question which you asked, like how can you keep everybody up to date? So we have built this within the culture of this entire community which we are running, is that every day we have different rituals. So when we start learning about any concept, we check out all the latest tools and latest research which has happened in that particular domain. For example, today I'm learning how to generate images. So even before starting my lecture or my session, I will go check. There are a couple of accounts which I follow. These are researchers from Stanford, Wharton, and there are a couple of websites which we have curated. So we basically have these resources, and these basically you can say trusted sources from where we can get access to the latest information, and then we verify that okay, today I'm gonna learn about the image generation part, but before doing that, let me see what are the things which have already happened in the space in the past few weeks, and then like coming from there, like understanding what needs to change for this particular session or this particular week, right? Those kind of exercise we do every week, right? So it's not like I have designed a curriculum and then like it's set for the next 5 months. The curriculum is evolving every week. Like every week I come and like join a session with everyone. We do office hours where we divide people in different batches, and then we basically give them a task of them going out and figuring out different tools and building a database. This is one of the, you can say, the onboarding task for all the students who join a cohort, that you have to build an Excel sheet where you can keep a track of all the new tools in your particular industry. For example, you're coming from the marketing industry or YouTube content creator industry. So then you all the tools which are basically helpful for content creators, make a list of those things. We have websites like Future Tools. There's an AI for that.com. Product Hunt, Twitter. We do a lot of things on Twitter. Indie Hackers is also a good source. Like a lot of indie hackers are posting there. So we have a curated list of these websites where you can get all the information of latest products, even Reddit threads. Now, for example, you are from the content or a marketing background. So we will give you this task that go check out these websites, find out what are the products which can be applicable for your field, and try to like use this and identify what are the limitations, what are the capabilities and pros and cons of this particular tool, and where a business can use it. So once you build this database and every day you do this exercise, in 100 days you have a repository of 100 tools, and you know about each of these tools, like what are their capabilities, how a business can use them. That knowledge itself is again evolving throughout the cohort, and it's very personalized to each and every student, right? That's where the mentorship also comes into picture in what we are doing, right? We have like mentors for each and every track. So if you are say asking me like you want to start a company tomorrow, right, I can pair you up. We have people who have like started multiple companies, had seen some exit, been to YC and then came here. So these people will basically help you in terms of you getting out the right direction in your research, and also helping you this building this database. So that's very well. What I'm saying is that's very much blended in the culture of how we learn. So it's different than traditional education.
So I'm curious, considering your background, all these years you spent learning this skill and what you've launched with 100x engineers, and as you look out maybe 5 years to the future, what you think, what you expect, are you optimistic, or like, where is this technology heading? We basically just talked about how it changes so rapidly. Do you believe that that's a good thing, and it essentially is going to get more efficient and allow people to solve bigger problems more easily? I'm just curious of your thoughts of like where this is going, right? Because it seems just like over the last year or two, it's just it's really gone into the mainstream, and it just keeps progressing faster and faster. Chat GPT 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, things like that. So just any of your thoughts, considering that you deal with this so much on a daily basis.
So I'm very optimistic about this field, to be honest, because I feel even our thesis is about that generative AI is gonna change the way people build softwares and build basically solve any problem, because we build softwares to solve a particular problem, right? So it's gonna change the fundamental way of how people solve their problems and build solutions around it, which was very limited and restricted to engineers, people who know coding before than this. But now it's like available to everybody. Our job in this entire ecosystem, or in this entire new world where everybody can build software, everybody can build solutions, is to basically guide them about how you go about it, because some fundamental principles will remain against it, and somebody needs to learn and adapt those principles, try to apply it with the new technology, and set a new learning path for people who will be uh, building new solutions, right? So that's where I see ourselves moving towards, where we, again, that was also like one of the major reason into pivoting into from specifically coding audience, like people which are relevant or which are basically have experience to engineering, versus opening up to everybody, because we realize that the potential of this opportunity and this entire technology is much more than just writing code. So yeah, I'm very optimistic about this entire space, and I feel in the next 5 years everybody can build their own software and their own solutions for whatever problem they are facing. And if you want to basically learn a particular way how you can solve your business problem, I think then 100x comes into the picture, and we can basically help you do that.
And maybe just to end too, just to kind of expand on this, why should somebody look into this generative AI technology and software solutions, as opposed to trying some other sort of entrepreneurial venture, and starting a podcast or drop shipping, or, building a social media following? Why should they focus on learning how to build a software product? Kind of what is your pitch, or what's the value there for somebody else, somebody watching that is curious or maybe on the fence?
I think first of all, you can pick up the data. Like I don't have the exact numbers, but whatever studies I have read so far, in terms of the new businesses and also the new capital being invested in all of the sectors, software is, as what Mark Anderson said, right? Software is eating the world, and which has basically now same statement holds true for AI, right? Generative AI, or like particularly AI, is now eating the entire world, because anything or everything which you can think of can be like automated, can be built by these systems. And what I basically like suggest, why somebody needs to switch to this field as compared to pick other field. I was talking to a few people from YCs and realized like the companies which they have funded last year, like even this winter batch and this summer batch, like majority of them were including generative AI into their workflows. That's one signal. Also, you can maybe pick the multiple reports from McKinsey, like how all the companies needs to have this AI strategy in place, and if you don't have that, like that means like you're gonna lose to your competition. There are new roles in the industries which are being crafted, a lot of companies, including Stripe, has now introduced these chief AI officer, which is basically responsible for the AI safety and the AI strategy within the company. So executive roles are also basically aligned. Now, all these things are basically signals to where we are moving towards as an industry. And I feel like, yeah, uh, and it doesn't matter like because generative AI is applicable to everything, right? It's similar to software, right? Even if you're operating at finance, content, marketing, sales, even if you're doing agriculture. So we have like in India a lot of agri-tech companies who are using generative AI to improve the processes and the efficiency of a particular process in an agriculture farm, right? So it can be applied to
Mm.
anything and everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's going anywhere. So with that being said, where can people find you? How can they join 100x engineers so they can learn the skill that, is going to be so essential in the future?
So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I am active there. My username is Geek Siddhant, GEEKSIDDHANT, and our website is 100xEngineers.com. So we are starting our next cohort in like next 3 months. Yeah.
Awesome, Sid. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're all the way across the world in India, so I learned a lot. I wish you the best of luck, and thank you again.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks for having me.